the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 AM in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM, 24/7. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the Silver State of Nevada, my very good friend, Sharon Angle. Sharon, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks so much, Rick. It's great to be here on this terrific Tuesday, broadcasting live to downtown Philadelphia, giving a shout-out to Tia and CJ, but more importantly, changing hearts and minds in 69 precincts that didn't cast one vote for Mitt Romney.
Well, your math is just slightly off. It was 59. And 59.
Oh, 59. Sorry, Philadelphia, 59.
And give our audience an idea who may be wondering what Sharon is talking about. In the 2012 election, in 59 of the voting districts in Philadelphia, and I'm not sure how many voting districts there are in Philadelphia, but in 59 of those voting districts, encompassing almost 20,000 votes, Mitt Romney did not get a single vote. Tell me how that works. I don't know. Somebody I would think out of 20,000 people would have made a mistake or something, but Mitt Romney didn't get a single vote.
It is. It's totally amazing, I think, to everyone. It's similar to an election that we had in 2014 out here in Nevada. There's a small county, White Pine County, and there was a obscure nomination on that ballot, an obscure person running, and yet he got 30% of the vote in White Pine County, and when they polled the people in White Pine County that voted, they could find not one single person that voted for him. So it's one of those deals. How does that work, Rick?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know.
No one votes for him.
Well, okay, yes, I do know. As Joseph Stalin said, it's not those that vote that count, it's those that count the votes.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's what we've got going on in this free United States. That's why one of the big things that I've been tackling for the last 5 years is election integrity. How do we root out corruption? How do we solve this problem in our elections where we have these kinds of anomalous things that happen that no one can explain? That's why we're wanting to get voter identification required here in Nevada, and there are other states that need to have voter identification, not the silver bullet, Rick, not the silver bullet by a long shot, but it does do one more step toward a safe and free election, and that's really what we need in this United States. We can't have democracy. We can't even follow our Constitution if we don't have representative government, and representative government begins right here in your home with your vote.
Indeed it is. Indeed it does. And, you know, Sharon, my gosh, everywhere you go today, you have to show identification. Tell you a little story. A couple of years ago, I was down in Richmond, Virginia, checking into a hotel that I had prepaid for. And when you check into a hotel, they want to see identification. They want to see photo identification. And as photo identification, I gave them my U.S. passport, and they wouldn't take it. They wouldn't take my U.S. passport for identification to sleep in a stupid Comfort Inn in Richmond, Virginia.
And why is that? Why is that, Rick?
I don't know. I have no idea, Sharon, but they would not accept a U.S. passport as photo identification, which has my picture in. You know, my picture, my name, you know, all the pertinent information.
So what would they take?
They wanted a driver's license, which I refused to give my driver's license to him, and I'll tell you why, Sharon. You know, today with identity theft, they've got on your driver's license is your name, your age, your date of birth, your height, your weight, your driver's license number, all this information some minimum wage clerk at a desk does not need, in my opinion. In my opinion, there's two things that you should not give out. One is your driver's license number. The other is your Social Security number.
Well, you're right. And Social Security numbers, Social Security cards are not legal identification. You're not supposed to use them at all. In fact, if they ask you for your Social Security number, you should deny them because it's not correct. It's not correct identification.
Hey, Sharon, let's take our break now, and I'll tell you why, because we got some big news to talk about on the other side of the break involving you, and I want to take enough time for that. So you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM 24/7. Today's show is being brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. Sharon and I will be right back.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972. 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, at 1 p.m., roarradio.net, at 7 p.m., redstatetalkradio.com, at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com, or you can listen to our shows any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. You just need that telephone number, 832-999-1199. Sharon Angle, I know that you right now are working very hard to secure the Republican nomination to run for Senate in the state of Nevada, and you got some very big news this past week.
I did, Rick. It was fun. We were listening to Mark Levin on the radio the other night. He was talking about how Mitch McConnell bullies and sabotages conservatives and has been doing it for years, and to the point he withholds committee chairmanships, committee appointments to those who are conservatives in the U.S. Senate. And he was asking for any candidates who would call in and talk about how Mitch McConnell bullies, how the establishment bullies conservatives into submission, or at least trying to bully them.
Hey, Sharon, that sets it up perfectly for what I want to do next. Because what I want to do next is play that segment of the Mark Levin show where you call in.
You're Sharon, Las Vegas, Nevada, Sirius Satellite. How are you?
I'm fine, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. This is Sharon Angle in Nevada.
Sharon Angle, my dear friend. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. I was just listening to your show and how you were talking about Mitch McConnell strong-arming Senator Lee. And, of course, we know what happened in 2010 with the strong-arming of this election out here. And he's doing it again. In Nevada.
All right, let me slow you down. We may have to go after. We may have to continue after the break. You have announced you're running in the Republican primary. The senator there is a huge sellout, a huge lib, the Republican. What is Mitch McConnell doing now?
Well, he's supporting the candidate. Heck, he's a complete Republican in name only. He votes 38% of the time conservative, which means 62% of the time he's with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats as a congressman. And now Mitch McConnell is putting a lot of funding into this race to make sure that one more time we get another Democrat imposter in the Senate, which is just unbelievable, Mark, unbelievable.
I don't think people realize how thoroughly contemptible Mitch McConnell is. And he's doing this all over the country. He pushed this massive spending bill about a year or so ago after he was safely reelected, which increases tenfold the amount of money they're allowed to get from contributors into this National Republican Senatorial Committee, which he uses as his private campaign slush fund to take on people like you, Sharon Engel.
Oh, that's exactly right. You know, when I visited with him in 2010, it was a private conversation between he and I, and it wasn't congratulations, Sharon, on winning the primary. It was, Sharon, I know Harry Reid. I understand Harry Reid, and I can work with Harry Reid, which I took to mean I don't know you, I can't work with you, and I don't understand you. And I think that's truly how it is in the U.S. Senate these days. He doesn't understand conservatism, and he doesn't want to work with conservatives.
What is your website if people want to contact you and support?
It is runsharonangle.com, runsharonangle.com.
Well, Sharon Engel, I want to endorse you as I have in the past. I know you have a terrible uphill battle. I know you got all the usual forces arrayed against you, but I'm sick of it. I don't care. So good luck to you.
Thank you, Mark. And again, that's runsharonangle.com. Our primary is June the 14th, and we start early voting on the 28th of May. So we don't have much time. We need your help. Thank you so much for your endorsement. I really appreciate it.
All right, you take care of yourself. Oh, she'll be attacked by the Karl Roves of the establishment and all the other knucklehead kooks. All the knucklehead kooks who've driven this nation right to the precipice. I don't care. I'll be right back.
So there you have it. The big news is that the great one, Mark Levin, endorsed our Sharon Engel to run as the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate. That is huge news, Sharon, and congratulations for that.
Thank you. It is huge news. He has a huge listening audience, and I'm hoping that they will respond. You know, it doesn't take too much to win a primary here in the state of Nevada. We're already going up on television and radio, and we've done a mailer. And it's a very inexpensive campaign, but it still needs money. Mm-hmm. And so just a donation of 20 or 50 or 100 or 125, if you want to get my new book, anything helps. And you can just go to runsharonangle.com and make that donation. So that's what I'm hoping that Mark Levin's audience will do. I'm hoping that that's what our friends in our audience will do, is just make that one-time gift of 20 or 50 or 125 or even more if you can afford it. I'm not asking the big money in Washington, D.C. to support this campaign. I'm asking people like you, Rick, and you've done it. People like you, Rick.
Well, thank you.
Fit me into your budget.
Well, Sharon, that's because I believe in you. You know that. And for a minute, if we can, Sharon, and I think this is important. I think it's important for our listeners in Las Vegas, Nevada to hear this. Because this is a little bit about Congressman Joe Heck, who's also running for that Republican nomination. And if I had Joe Heck on here on the Conservative Commandos, I would ask him about this. Why did he fully vote to fund amnesty? Why did he vote to give Obama unilateral control over amnesty actions? Why does he call amnesty a pathway to citizenship for illegals, people who are here illegally? Why did he vote for the largest debt increase in U.S. history? Why did he vote for the implementation of Obamacare that killed 25,000 Nevada jobs? Why did he vote to fund Planned Parenthood, even after the notorious videos came out exposing the gruesome actions of selling baby parts? Why did he vote to reauthorize the Export-Import Bank? Why did he oppose freezing the funding of Obama's illegal amnesty program? Why did he vote with Nancy Pelosi 62% of the time? Those are the questions that I would ask Congressman Joe Heck, a supposed Republican, And that's the man you're running against, Sharon Engel.
Oh, that's right. And Mark Levin calls him a pathetic rhino. And it's true, Rick. But it's what's wrong with Washington, D.C. It's why Washington, D.C. is broken, is because we've sent a bunch of bunnies. Ronald Reagan said it best. He said, what we need in Congress is a bunch of tigers, and what we have is a bunch of bunnies. And what he meant was the rabbits are just following after each other. They have no spine, and they're voting for all of these things that the Democrats want them to vote for, even when they're in the majority. Rick, it's just incredible, and I don't know any other word to explain it, but why do people keep voting this kind of incumbency back into Washington, D.C.? You know, we've got good friends there, Stephen King, Louis Gohmert, Mike Lee. These are truly people that need to be sent back again and again because they're standing on the right side of things. But when we vote for incumbency just because we recognize the name and then realize that that record is, as you say, 62% of the time with Nancy Pelosi, that's why Washington's broken. We need to pay attention, and we need to vote our values.
This guy, Joe Heck, he's not even worth returning to Congress as a Republican. You know, Joe Heck was the only Republican to vote to keep Obama's home mortgage assistance program. Now, this is a program that liberal Nevada Democrat Senator Barkley called, quote, too flawed to save. But yet Joe Heck, he wanted to keep it.
It's just over the pale, isn't it? And when you look at this kind of a record, no wonder people are so angry with what's gone on in Washington, D.C. No wonder they want an outsider, someone that's not a part of the establishment. No wonder they're up in arms to vote for anyone but those D.C. folks because they've seen this kind of a record. No wonder. But we need to get that word out to more and more people. We know, Rick, that the truth sets us free. And we tell the truth all the time on Conservative Commando's radio show because we know that that's exactly what is going to preserve our freedom. And that's all we need to do right now, Rick, is just tell the truth about Joe Heck, because once people hear the truth, they will send a conservative to Washington to take up a seat that's been held by one of the most liberal senators in the history of Nevada and even in the history of the nation, Harry Reid. We need to make sure that that's...
Well, you don't replace the Harry Reid with the Joe Heck. I mean, come on, Sharon.
How much difference is there?
No. Hey, Sharon, we got to go to a break, but before we go, tell people how they can help you.
Well, they can send money. That's the way they can really help, and they can do that by going to runsharonangle.com. Runsharonangle.com. And you know, Rick, if they just type in Sharon Angle, they'll get there too. So sharonangle.com, runsharonangle.com, whatever you can remember of this message, just go there, push the button to donate. That would really help. Thank you.
And as Mark Levin and you were talking, that story that you told with Mark Levin about your meeting with Mitch McConnell, that was incredible. How he says, I know Harry Reid, I understand Harry Reid, I can work with Harry Reid. And there you are standing in front of him as the Republican nominee to run for Senate. I mean, you must have been floored when you heard that, Sharon Angle.
I was totally floored, Rick, but he played it out not only in Nevada but in Alaska. Remember, he came in,
Joe Miller.
Murkowski, and when she couldn't win straight up against Joe Miller in the primary, they ran her as an independent. He's outrageous. He's just outrageous.
Well, this is what's wrong with Washington, Sharon, and this is why we need people like you in Washington to root out these guys, to get McConnell out of his seat of power. I mean,
I couldn't agree more.
It's atrocious. You know, this is why This is why people, frankly, people like me get frustrated. We gave the Republicans the majority in the House of Representatives in 2010. We turned around in 2014, we gave them the majority in the U.S. Senate, not to work for Barack Obama, not to do his heavy lifting, but to stop things like illegal immigration, to stop things like Obamacare. But when you got people like Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, and Joe Hack, who's running for Senate in Nevada, to do Barack Obama's heavy lifting, it makes me want to scream. It makes me want to bang my head on this microphone. I'm not going to do that, Sharon Engel. I'm not going to bang my head. But I am supporting people like you. Sharon, let's take a break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM, 24/7. Don't go away. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Mark Kircher. He's the president of Life Dynamics. Sharon and I will be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Engel in Washington. Go to runsharonengel.com and help us draft Sharon Engel to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 7 p.m., please log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Sharon Angle, we do have our first guest with us, and the honor of the introduction is yours.
And it is my pleasure to introduce Mark Crutcher. He's the president of Life Dynamics. Mark started Life Dynamics in 1992, which has become a widely recognized pro-life organization. And Mark has always taken a bold and hard-hitting approach in standing up against abortion. As a result, Life Dynamics may best be known for their undercover operations such as child predators, which have exposed shocking and illegal activities that happen inside the abortion industry. Mark has also appeared on many local and national television news outlets, including ABC World News Tonight, the CBS Evening News, Fox News, Nightline, 2020, and The O'Reilly Factor. He's a frequent contributor to World Net Daily, American Family Radio, Family News in Focus, and the USA Radio Network. Mark, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
It's always great to have you, Mark. You've written an article, Is Trump Clady's Ghost? Who's Clady?
I started noticing some similarities some time ago that are kind of disturbing, I guess, in a way, with Donald Trump and a previous election that was held here in Texas many years ago between a man named Clayton Williams and Ann Richards. And the more I investigated it, the more these similarities became pretty breathtaking to me. When that campaign began, this was 26 years ago, when that campaign began, Clayton Williams entered it as somebody no one had ever heard of. He was a West Texas oil and gas man that had made $1 billion. I mean, he was extraordinarily wealthy. And he entered the race for governor of Texas, and the initial polls showed that he was polling at 1/4 to 1/2% of the vote. And we had a former U.S. congressman, a former Secretary of State, a former Texas State Senator, and several other luminaries in the race. And one of them, a guy named Ken Hance, was polling at 40 and 50% in most of the polls. And no one was paying Clayton Williams any attention whatsoever. And he's kind of a buffoonish character. And like I said, everybody was just totally dismissing him. But what they weren't paying attention to was the fact that he had so much money and he was willing to spend it on this campaign. And as he started doing that, he started kind of going past all these other people, these established candidates, and pretty soon he was being taken very seriously. He was a serious candidate. But he had a problem in that he had no credibility on issues like abortion and homosexuality and all the social issues. And in Texas, you're not going to win the Republican primary without a pretty strong background and positions on those issues, which he didn't have. And everybody was of the opinion that this would be the stumbling block for him eventually. But because of the money that he had, he hired a bunch of outside consultants to come into Texas whose specialty was capturing the Christian right vote. And immediately they had him saying all the right things and doing all the right things and going to the right churches and sucking up to the right preachers and going to the right pro-life, pro-family events and so forth. And he continued to rise in the polls. And in the end, a man that was the laughingstock of Texas at the time, when the primary began, against about 8 or 9, as I remember, opponents, he won without even a runoff. He got more votes than everybody else combined. And he did so mainly with the support of the conservative, social conservative Christian right in Texas, which he had basically, in my view, bamboozled, and I was saying so at the time. I kind of paralleled this to all the polls that we see with Donald Trump being shown capturing such a high percentage of what we would now call the Christian right vote, social conservatives, hardcore conservative Republicans, and sometimes not Republicans, that Donald Trump was capturing. And I thought the analogy between that and Clayton Williams was pretty astounding. The problem that we had was, here in Texas, was that when the general election came around, and of course the Democrats in Texas had nominated a hardcore leftist, morally bankrupt Marxist named Ann Richards, and everybody gave her no chance in Texas with her views. Gave her no chance in the beginning. The problem was that the real Clayton Williams began to emerge in the general election, and he started making all kinds of stupid statements, bragging about the fact that his corporations didn't pay taxes. One time comparing rape to bad weather, saying that if it's inevitable, just lay back and enjoy it. And he went on making these kind of just totally asinine statements. And it got to the point where even on the Christian right, he wasn't being called Clayton Williams anymore. He was being called Satan Williams. And what happened was, in the general election, by the time it rolled around, the Christian right in Texas, the social conservatives, had figured out that they had backed the wrong horse in the primary, and so they stayed home. And the result was the most embarrassing 4 years in Texas history. We had Ann Richards for governor. And, that sometimes, we always hear this statement that elections have consequences. Well, that one certainly had consequences for Texas, but it had consequences beyond that. Ann Richards' daughter today is the national president of Planned Parenthood, that's Cecile Richards. So that election here in Texas, which probably most people in the United States don't even know about or never paid much attention to, and had no reason to pay attention to it really, is still resonating around the country. And I'm concerned that we may be about to see a repeat of this on the national stage with Donald Trump.
Wow, that's quite a story, Mark. We have to take a short break. Could you stay with us through the break? It will be about 2 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you. We are coming to you live from the Conservative Commando's radio studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .com, and we invite you to listen in. We will be right back after this break with Rick Trader, Sharon Angle, and our special guest, Mark Crutcher, who's talking about Is Trump Clady's Ghost?
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
David and Patty Berrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show, and if you'd like to hear a broadcast or rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com, or in the mornings you can listen to us at leadingedgeradionetwork.com at 9 a.m. Then at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net, and at 7 p.m., log on to redstatetalkradio.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. You're listening to Sharon Angle and Rick Trader, and we've been talking with our special guest, Mark Crutcher, about his article, Is Trump Clady's Ghost? Welcome back, Mark, to the Conservative Commandos.
It's my pleasure.
Now, Mark, we just barely got into who's Clady and your comparison between him and Trump and how he managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and how you're wondering if this is what's going to happen with this whole Trump phenomena. I'm wondering, too, about the comparison. I know that Donald Trump has said that he's surrounding himself with good advisors, and it looks like he really is. Is there a difference at all between he and Clady, or do you just see this thing as history repeating itself?
Well, I'm not saying that Clayton Williams and Donald Trump are similar, the same person. I'm just saying that the circumstances here are frighteningly similar. You have two very successful, ultra-wealthy businessmen, neither one of which had ever held political office in the past, both of which won their primaries basically with the support of the Christian right. And I'm not saying for one moment, I think that Donald Trump is a much smarter, much more accomplished person than Clayton Williams is or was. But I'm just saying that these similarities are so overwhelming that we can't ignore them. And you know, there's an old saying: people who don't learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat them. And I think we're at a time in our nation's history where we don't have any room for error. we can't make mistakes at this point. We already made a major mistake 8 years ago as a nation. And I think it's a testament to the strength of the Republic that we have survived Barack Obama as well as we have. But if we wind up with another Barack Obama, whether that person turns out to be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, I just don't think the nation can long survive that. I don't know how we do it. And
I think you're right. I think you're right, Mark, because that is exactly what the Trump-Cruz vote has suggested, is that the people of America, 80%, especially on the Republican side, and even if you add the Bernie Sanders folks on the Democrat side, that's an overwhelming majority of the people that agree with you, Mark, that this nation needs a change. It needs it right now, and it's not going to survive if we don't get it. So I think you're really in the majority thought there. I want to continue on with this comparison a bit. You say that Clayton Williams lost to one of the most liberal Texans in Texas history, which went on to just have amazing ramifications to the nation as a whole, with her daughter becoming in charge of Planned Parenthood. So talk to us a little bit about the comparison between Ann Richards and Hillary Clinton.
They're cut from the same cloth. These are hardcore, godless, leftist, liberals, Marxist, whatever you want to call them. They're cut from exactly the same cloth. You know, Ann Richards used to even joke about the fact that she could have been Bill Clinton's mother. Not suggesting that she was, but I'm saying she was talking about how similar they were in political ideologies and how they thought alike and so forth. And you know, she became, because she did get elected as the governor of Texas, she became kind of a national celebrity, as I'm sure you remember. And it was a complete embarrassment for those of us who are Texans to have to go around the country and say, you know, this country, our state elected this woman as governor. But the reality is, we didn't elect her. We de-elected Clayton Williams because he made such a buffoon of himself. And
so what your warning is really then is, don't stay home from the polls, or you'll get worse than you thought you were going to get in the first place. Is that correct?
We're between the rock and the hard spot right now. I mean, let's be realistic here, Sharon. If you're a hardcore conservative Christian, social conservative, pro-life, pro-family, all those things, we don't have a candidate in this race now. We're done. I'm not telling people who to vote for or who to vote against. I'm just saying I don't think any of us can make the argument, can make a reasonable argument, that Donald Trump is that person. But we know for a fact Hillary Clinton isn't that person.
Hey, Mark, let me just jump in for a minute and ask you this. So what do we do? I mean, at this point in time, where Donald Trump is the presumed Republican nominee, everybody else is bowed out. He's the guy that we're stuck with. I don't like him either. And Mark, I feel your pain. I hear you. All right? Donald Trump is not my choice, but he's what we're stuck with. So the choice now is between, as I see it, and help me out, correct me if I'm wrong, the choice now is between a Clinton and a Trump. What do we do?
Well, again, I don't think you or I, either one, are going to tell other people what to do. But as for me, just speaking from a personal perspective, I'm just going to have to say I don't think that the Republic can survive 4 more years of Barack Obama, which is what you're going to get with Hillary Clinton, if not worse. She may actually be worse than him. It's hard to picture that. But it was hard for us to picture back during the days when Bill Clinton was president. It was hard to picture that we'd have somebody worse than him in our own lifetimes, and here we are.
Actually, somebody worse than Jimmy Carter here in our own lifetime. You know what, Mark, one of the things that I'm talking about here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, regardless of who the nominee is, regardless of who wins the election, what we really need to do as conservatives, and I think of you and I as kindred souls, we need to push other conservatives for spots for the House of Representatives and the Senate, because I think that's all we have left. That's all we have left that we can do. Because I agree with everything that you're saying about Clinton, about Trump, or even about Ann Richards. I remember her. But I think that where we are at now, and I'm kind of posing this as a question, what do we have left but to push conservatives in the House of Representatives and in the Senate?
I think you've hit on it right there. I think that this election, the most important part of this election, is going to be the United States Senate, because if Hillary Clinton is allowed to appoint the next 3 or 4, who knows how many Supreme Court justices, and the Democrats control the Senate, you can stick us with a fork. We're done. The America that we knew, that we grew up, ceased to exist at that moment.
I agree with that, Mark.
I don't know that Trump is any more trustworthy. I don't know that.
Well, you see, that's the thing about Trump. We don't know, because, the Donald Trump is talking today sounds very differently than the Donald Trump that was talking even a few months ago. Some of the things that he says today is reminiscent when he says that Planned Parenthood does some good work. I mean, I don't understand that coming from someone who's supposed to be or calling himself a conservative. So we don't really know what we're getting with him. But Mark, with Clayton Williams and Donald Trump has something else in common. Okay? They are the presumed outsiders. And I think that the popularity of Clayton Williams and Donald Trump is they are outsiders. People are so sick and tired of what we're getting out of Washington, they're willing to sell their souls.
And that's where we are. And, this is a strange environment if you think about it for a minute. When you hire somebody to do a job, let's say you run a company and you're going to hire somebody, how often do you look and say, my biggest qualification for hiring this person is going to be that they have absolutely no experience in the field that I'm hiring them for? You would never say that. But that's basically what we've said as a country right now. The biggest reason that people are backing either Trump or Sanders, or they backed Clayton Williams 26 years ago here in Texas, the biggest reason is they have no experience, right?
Yeah.
That's their biggest sales pitch.
Yeah. How did that work for us in 2008 and 2012 when we elected somebody with no experience? Hey, Mark, we got to run, but please tell us how our audience can find more about Life Dynamics and also read your article.
Yeah, they can go to prolifeamerica.com, and they can find everything about Life Dynamics. That's our gateway website. We have a whole bunch of websites, and that's the one you can go to first. You can also find the article on there about Clayton Williams. And, I just want to make sure people understand what the environment is. I'm not trying to frighten anybody or say, this is who you should vote for. This isn't who you vote. I just want you to understand the ground rules here. And this is where we are right now.
Mark Hercher, president of Life Dynamics, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the Conservative Commandos. You guys do great work down there, Mark. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir, and call me again sometime.
We will, indeed. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle, Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM, 24/7. And on the other side, we're going to be speaking with our friend Jeff Crouer about Home Depot employee is not great U.S. history. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You've heard Paul Delps playing the music on the Your Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com at 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 7 p.m., redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show any time of the day by calling 832-999-1199. And Sharon, before we bring our next guest in, there's something I should have mentioned to Mark Kircher from Life Dynamics when we just had him on. When I mentioned to him that we needed to elect people in the House of Representatives, conservatives, I should say, when we need to elect conservatives in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, man, I was thinking about you when I said that. This is why we are here on the Conservative Commandos radio show supporting our very good friend Sharon Angle for U.S. Senate. But Sharon, we do have our next guest with us, and will you please make that introduction?
It's my pleasure, Rick, to introduce Jeff Crouere, who is a native of New Orleans, Louisiana, and he's the host of the Louisiana-based program Ringside Politics, which airs at 7:30 p.m. Friday and 10 p.m. Sunday on WLAE-TV 32, a PBS station, and 7 till 11 on weekdays on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans. Jeff, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Sharon and Rick, how are y'all doing? Thanks for having me.
Well, we all are doing fine. It's nice to hear your little southern drawl, Jeff. Jeff, talk to us.
I wanted to give you a little southern hospitality this afternoon.
And we feel like it too. We're feeling the love. Give us a little breakdown on Home Depot employee who's not great on U.S. history. What's that all about, really, Jeff?
Well, at the Staten Island Home Depot last week, a 22-year-old African-American lady, Crystal Lake, was pictured wearing a hat that said, America was never great. It was a response to Donald Trump's Make America Great Again theme. And she was pictured wearing the hat. It became a national story. Home Depot later apologized and said that they didn't see it or they would have asked her to remove it. Then they did interviews with this young lady, and turns out that she is a Bernie Sanders supporter who doesn't feel America has ever been great. And she doesn't like Donald Trump's message. She thinks it's exclusionary. And it motivated me to write a column about it because I think it's horrible that we have young people that don't appreciate this country. I've traveled. I think this is the greatest country on earth. I think we have the greatest people on earth. And we're unfortunately educating young kids today who don't seem to appreciate that about America. So I got a lot of response to this, and I appreciate you having me on to talk about it because I think it's an important discussion to have.
I think it is too, Jeff. And you pointed out one of the failings of our public school system, and that is that they are rewriting history in a most disturbing way. I don't know exactly how to characterize this, but they are undermining the Constitution, the uniqueness of the American people, if you will. And I think that's really what the crux of this whole problem is, isn't it, Jeff, is that she probably just doesn't even remember ever being taught about perhaps the greatest generation, which isn't that far away. I mean, that's my father's generation. But
my father's
really
too. I mean, my father fought in World War II, and I know through his stories and through all of my family stories about what was done and how we saved the world from tyranny, from fascism, from Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany, and then rebuilt those countries afterwards. And we didn't occupy them. And it's just the special character of this country. And it's really amazing that we don't have a correct appreciation of the United States of America. And I think she's not alone. There are probably many others that agree with her. And I think one of them is the president, because he's always apologizing for the country and seems to really think we're nothing special. But I believe that there is something called American exceptionalism.
Hey, Jeff and Sharon, let me break in at this time, and I was going to mention this later, but Jeff, since you mentioned the president, I think this young lady, Crystal Lake, has a wonderful role model there in Michelle Obama, who said it wasn't until her husband was elected president that she felt proud to be an American. So I think
you're exactly right. Exactly right, Rick.
Crystal had a great role model there. I mean, what Crystal had on her hat could have been written by Michelle Obama.
Well, and that's what the damage that Michelle Obama and Barack Obama have done. And it's just insidious, I think, what has happened here with our country to have those two people in such prominent roles who feel that way about America. And I remember people like Ronald Reagan, who used to talk about how this country was the best country on earth and sing the praises of being an American. And I just never recall Barack Obama doing that. So I guess it's not surprising, Sharon and Rick, that we would have a young lady like this make these kinds of remarks. But I'm fighting back against it. I reject her belief, and I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's true.
Well, and I want to go a little bit back to our public school system. You know, if Crystal is 18 years old, a first-time voter, she was only 10 when Barack Obama took office and began to undermine the greatness of America. And if she's even in her 20s, she probably didn't get a real good education, if you will, in American history or in American government, because we were already starting to slide that direction. Ronald Reagan was really the last president who saw America as that shining city on a hill. And since then, we've had some turmoil, I guess, in trying to rein in academia. And do you see any solutions to this? Because we have a generation now who just really doesn't know about American greatness.
Well, I think we've got to fight them at the local level. I know that here in Louisiana, we have activists who always are battling local school boards about the textbooks, and we've had all kinds of big battles about history, and some of these history textbooks are incredible. I mean, they downplay the founding fathers. They downplay people that I used to consider heroes, such as Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson, and talk about the fact they were slave owners and the fact that, Andrew Jackson was not nice to Indians, and this whole kind of politically correct history. Of course, Christopher Columbus was not a great explorer. He was unfair to indigenous peoples and spread disease, and just on and on and on. And I think it starts at the local level, Sharon, where we have to fight them as far as just what is being taught to our young kids.
Well, Jeff, we have to go to a break right now. Can you stay with us? It's about 2 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Well, I want to come back and pick up on this idea of racism because Crystal kind of pointed it out here, and I want to pick up on that after our break. We are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. We'll be right back after this break with Rick Trader, Sharon Angle, and our special guest, Jeff Kruar.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Our mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 7 p.m., you can log on to redstatetalkradio.com. Now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We've been talking with our guest, Jeff Kruar, who's a radio show host himself in New Orleans on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans, and also on the PBS station there and at WLAE TV 32. And Jeff, we were talking about Crystal Lake, who in Staten Island was wearing a hat that said, "America was never great." She's a Home Depot employee and caused quite a dust-up there at Home Depot with a few people. But she made an interesting statement about why she didn't like Trump. She said he will automatically write you off. And her main reason for saying that he'll write you off is that he caters to one type of group of people and disregards everyone else. Presumably this is white males, and yet she loves Bernie Sanders. He's not a white male. I didn't get this comment and her preferences here. It's an interesting thing. It harkens back to when Bill Clinton claimed to be the first black president, and I don't get this on the left. Talk to me a little bit about this, because it almost
you make some good points. Let me try to navigate this. I think she likes Bernie Sanders because he promises more government. He wants to continue the welfare state. He wants to continue the Obama policies, but put them on steroids. So more and more debt and spending, and I guess the left loves that. And he also has been very supportive of Black Lives Matter, very, quote, racially conscious. He's been pandering to people like Al Sharpton, so maybe a leftist like Crystal Lake gives him high marks for that. On the other hand, you have somebody like Donald Trump, who is more of a businessman, not a politician. He's someone who is out there, making a lot of money. Now he's become a political phenomenon, and he doesn't really play the politically correct game, and he's been sort of running against the establishment. And she seems to think that he's just about white males, and I really think that'd be a surprise, Sharon, to the thousands of minority employees that work for the Trump organization.
I think it would be, too. I know that Rick Trader wants to jump into our conversation and ask you a few questions, too, Jeff.
Jeff, I see this. Her ignorance. And I'm using the word ignorance because she's ignorant of the fact of the facts you put into your article about how great America is. But I see this as an indictment of the educational system. That schools today, they're teaching all kinds of things like diversity and self-esteem and no bullying and whatever, but they need to be teaching history once again, Jeff Couer. They need to be teaching the history that I was taught as a kid. And I was a poor student in school, but I loved history. I loved learning about the creation of the greatest country ever created on God's blue-green planet. I loved hearing the stories and the lessons from our founding fathers, how they created this country on nothing but faith.
Right.
Crystal Lake needs to go back to school, and she needs to go to a school that teaches history, Jeff Couer.
Well said. And that was my favorite subject, too. I wasn't too good in math, wasn't too good in science, loved history, loved learning about government, loved civics, loved all the social sciences.
Wow, and, Jeff Couer, what is civics? I bet that word isn't even brought up today in the curriculum. What is civics?
Right. I know. I mean, the study of government. I mean, the study of how citizens participate in their life as citizens and getting involved in ways they can influence how their government is run. And I don't think a lot of people are involved at all anymore sadly, in how their government runs. So many people are not even plugged in. But I think if they would take those kind of classes, I think they would appreciate what you appreciate, what I appreciate about the special nature of this country. We're a unique country. We really are. And we're fighting to preserve it, Rick. I mean, fighting to make sure that we don't become the next Venezuela or the next Cuba or the next failed European state like we see
Jeff,
on...
that's something else that Crystal Lake did not learn in school. She did not learn about how socialism has failed everywhere in the world that it's been tried. It's failed. You mentioned Venezuela. I wonder if Crystal Lake reads a newspaper or if she watches the news where people are rioting in the streets because there's no food. You know, Jeff, at one point, Venezuela was like the second or third richest country in the Western Hemisphere. How over the past, I heard a statistic this morning, I'm thinking over the last 10, 15 years, 75% of the corporations doing business in Venezuela have either left or closed down. They've gone from 17,000 corporations down to about 4,000. Crystal Lake didn't learn that. And what I would like to ask Crystal Lake, Jeff, if America is so terrible, why are millions upon millions of people trying to come here legally and illegally, a lot of them risking life and limb? Jeff Crouere, have you seen pictures of people on homemade rafts somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean or the Caribbean trying to get here?
Oh, definitely. I've talked to people that have risked their life to get here. And I know very well that this is the country that attracts them because of what? Our freedoms. And that's what we're trying to preserve, our freedoms right here in this country. But Crystal Lake, sadly, probably, Rick, gets her news from Facebook or social media sites that are biased and not giving people the true story about what's going on, not only here but around the world. So that's what we're fighting. Also, we're fighting education, but we're also fighting a biased media. And it's hard to get to the truth to a lot of these young, impressionable Americans.
Jeff, do you know if anybody has questioned Crystal Lake? Have you seen any other interviews that she's done?
She did some interviews with the local Staten Island news, and I don't know if any national outlets have reached out to her. I tried to find her. I could not, but maybe with all the vast resources that you have, Rick, you could probably track her down.
I was going to ask you that same question. All the vast resources you have, Jeff Crouere. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. I appreciate your getting your articles weekly. Tell our audience how they can do the same.
Well, I appreciate you and Sharon. Thank you all so much.
By the way, you got to have Sharon on your show, Jeff.
Yes, I'd love people to go to WGSO.com. They can listen to my show. They can also go on Facebook, Facebook.com/Ringside Politics, or at Twitter @Jeff Crouere. And I'd love to have folks follow me and get my columns weekly that I send out with a newsletter.
Jeff, and I don't know if you need to get Sharon Engel on your show, Jeff.
I will be glad to have both of you on, and definitely Sharon. I want to help her get to Washington.
Yeah, we need people like her. Jeff Crouere.
We've seen a lot of rhinos up there and liberals. We need some good conservatives up there.
Indeed we do. Jeff Crouere, thank you so much for joining us. Take care. God bless.
Thank you all. Okay.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel, Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philly and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM 24/7. On the other side, we are going to be speaking with Oklahoma State Representative Sally Kern about a governor who run on one thing and now did the exact opposite. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You've heard Paul Delks play playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our show, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 7 p.m., can log on to redstatetalkradio.com. Or you can hear our show and all the shows that are part of the Conservative Commandos radio network here at WNJC 1360 by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. You just need that number, 832-999-1199. And Sharon, we do have our guest with us, and just give us about 10 seconds to hook you together. But Sharon Engel, we do have our next guest with us, and will you please make the introduction?
I will, and it's my pleasure to introduce Sally Kern, who in Oklahoma in March, Senate Bill 1552, banning abortions in the state, passed overwhelmingly in the Senate with a vote of 40-7, and that measure then passed in the House 59-9. And after the change was made regarding the language, it then went on back to the Senate and got approval and passed again on May 19th. But the governor, who was supposed to be pro-life, vetoed it. And we have Sally Kern, who's the Oklahoma State Representative, who is going to talk to us in depth about this really monumental bill and what the governor did. Sally, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, Sharon. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
This is amazing. Tell us about the role that you played with SB 1552.
Well, it's a bill that we've actually been working on for a couple of years, and we researched it very well. We had legal counsel from Matt Staver with Liberty Counsel, and we wanted to put forth a bill that really would be sound, and it is the purview of the state for us to issue licenses for doctors. And so after working for, like I said, close to 2 years, we came up with this bill, and Matt Staver and his legal team helped us, write it and fashion it to make sure it was constitutional. And so when it was presented, as you said, it passed both chambers in our legislature and was sent to our governor, and she vetoed it. And her reasoning was pretty much that she just felt it wasn't constitutional, it was vague and had some constitutional problems. I believe that's specifically what she said. And we are working on a veto override. I personally think that. Go ahead.
Well, it's amazing as a legislator here in Nevada. I know that our Legislative Council Bureau, the folks that help us draft bills, they look for unconstitutionality and warn us if there is something unconstitutional. So I'm surprised that it could get through both houses of your legislature all the way to the governor's desk before someone picked up on that it might be unconstitutional. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yes, well, it's not unconstitutional. Personally, I think it is the advisors that she has around her. I also think that our state chamber has an undue influence upon our governor at times, and I think this is one of them. And so I feel pretty confident that it will be overridden if we're given the chance to do it. And plus, too, one of the things that we had to continually say over and over, we're in a budget crisis this year, $1.3 billion, and people who opposed the bill kept saying, and even some who weren't sure about it, some in our own party, were saying we just can't afford a lawsuit. Our state can't afford a lawsuit right now. And the one of the great things about this bill is Matt Staver with Liberty Counsel. He and his team are going to provide pro bono if the bill is challenged. They will provide legal counsel with no cost to the state. So that's just a bogus argument there. And it is written, it is extremely constitutional. I'm certainly not a constitutional expert or lawyer, but I believe in the 10th Amendment, and it already is in our statutes that as a state, we are the ones who do licensing for doctors, in almost all kinds of professions. And so we have the constitutional right to do this. And I think the governor stands on a very weak leg, and I'm looking forward to voting to override her veto.
Well, I think it's an interesting bill. I want to dig down just a little bit into it because I don't think that many states have really considered this approach to it. And what you've done there is that you've said that unless the mother's life is threatened, abortions are considered unprofessional conduct and would revoke or prohibit the licensing or renewal of a license to doctors performing this procedure. What does it do with other health care folks? Because often in an abortion clinic, at least here in the West, you don't get to see a doctor. You get a nurse practitioner or someone else that is not really a doctor. Does it flow to them as well, or is it just doctors?
Well, pretty much it's just those individuals, and I believe most of them would be, I hate to call them doctors, but those individuals who perform abortions. So it just deals with them. And right now in Oklahoma, we only have 2 places that still do abortions. We do have a third wanting to come into Oklahoma City, a part of the gentleman, I hate to call him a gentleman, the man in Kansas, Tiller was his name, I believe. You're probably familiar with him and the big clinics and the atrocities that he did. They're wanting to, someone who used to work for him, I believe it is wanting to come into our state and open a clinic. So this bill would just, completely close that door down. But it doesn't. It just deals with the those that are licensed, have a medical license to do medical procedures. So and like I say, in our state, we just have 2 places. So I guess what you're referring to is, say, if just in some doctor's office or maybe in a hospital, somebody that's a licensed nurse, is that what you're referring to? Someone like that?
And Planned Parenthood clinics, of course, hire folks that are not necessarily MDs, but physicians' assistants and nurse practitioners, folks like that, to perform these procedures.
Yeah,
they of course don't consider it an invasive procedure. As a woman, I'm sure you feel the same way I do. That's invasive. So
very invasive. Well, I think we've got all those bases covered in the bill. I'm sorry I don't have a copy. I should have brought a copy with me and had it in front of me. But I believe we've covered all of our bases in that. And like you say, there is an exception for the life of the mother. It's a good, sound bill. We are very excited that Oklahoma has the opportunity to do this and set the model, I believe, for other states. And, even if for some reason the veto override were to fail, I hope that other states will pick up on this and take it, because it is a very sound bill. And if we want to ever really do away with Roe versus Wade, this is a way to do it. Because, like I said earlier, it's something that we just didn't do this in just a month or two. This has been looked at and talked about and worked on and developed and researched for close to 2 years. And we feel like it's pretty soundproof. So does Matt Staver with Liberty Counsel. And we're excited about having gotten it passed. And really, quite frankly, shocked and extremely disappointed that our governor, who considers herself, and who says she is a conservative, pro-life governor, would veto this bill.
It is shocking. It is stunning and shocking. But you bring up a very interesting point. We're talking with Sally Kern, who is a legislator in Oklahoma, about, I believe, groundbreaking and model legislation that really underlines the 10th Amendment, which says that states should be self-determining in these issues. And Oklahoma has now taken the lead to take their 10th Amendment provisions and write legislation that does hit squarely, as you say, Sally Kern, at Roe v. Wade and the atrocities that we have been seeing through the Planned Parenthood exposés that we've seen. It's really interesting to me to note that when we talk about this kind of model legislation and going through now it's going to probably go through the whole process of veto and possibly the courts. How long do you think before you'll actually be able to see how this works? You know, legislation is fine on paper, but then when we start to actually work it, sometimes there are unintended consequences. Do you think there will be any in this case? How do you think it's going to actually implement?
Well, as you say, you know, a lot of times, and maybe way too often, there are unintended consequences. And again, that's one of the things that we have tried to deal with in the last 2 years, and that is look as, you know, conceivably as much as we can to every possible angle at this bill. And of course, no one is. We can't tell the future, but I think that we pretty well have a lot of our bases covered, and I think that this will stand up in court. Now, the real issue, or an issue to deal with here is, I feel certain that, of course, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm certain that if the bill is challenged, and I think it will be challenged, I think there were groups that will challenge it, pro-choice groups, but and they will try to challenge it in our state court, because unfortunately our state Supreme Court is one of the most liberal, if not the most liberal state Supreme Court in the nation. And we've passed a lot of good pro-life legislation in the last 12 years that I've been in office, and many of them have been struck down in our state Supreme Court. And they like to choose the state Supreme Court because they are so liberal. And many of these same bills have been upheld and have passed and are working great in other states, but it's just our state Supreme Court. So I feel certain that measures will be and have been taken to, if there's any challenge, that this will probably be taken to hopefully all the way up to the Supreme Court if necessary, but through the federal courts, because we know the problem we have with our state Supreme Court.
And we'll be watching Oklahoma. My co-host, Rick Trader, has a few questions, and he's been dying to jump in. Come on, Rick.
Yeah, here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Oklahoma State Legislature Sally Kern. Sally, great to have you back on Conservative Commandos.
Thank you, Rick.
Did this governor run on an anti-abortion platform?
He ran very strictly as a conservative and pro-life, without a doubt. I seriously doubt that in our state, any candidate running for governor would be elected if they were not pro-life.
But when you talk about your Supreme Court being very liberal, is your Supreme Court appointed or elected?
Well, they are appointed, but this is something we've been dealing with the last few years too. The appointment procedure is I'm trying to remember exactly what group it is. Some group of attorneys submit to our governor three nominees, and she has to choose from them.
Wow.
So the names that are submitted to her are not necessarily conservative justices or judges, and so we're trying to fix that so that we have a process that will allow a much greater opportunity for some good conservatives to be appointed to our state Supreme Court.
What is the mood of the people of Oklahoma right now over Governor Mary Phelan vetoing this bill?
Well, of course, our media is a lot like
Well, forget the media. What about the people?
Okay. Well, from what the people that I have talked to are in shock. Some people, a lot of people don't pay too much attention, and so they may not even know. But I tell you, we are a pro-life state.
Yep.
And as this is coming out more and more, people are just really upset with the governor. As a matter of fact, I will give you this as an illustration. A couple of weeks ago, I'm not 100% sure how long ago it was, but at a Thunder, we have the Thunder basketball team.
Right.
And she and her husband were there, and they were on this kiss cam. I'm sure you know what that is.
Sure.
And when they showed our governor with her husband up on the kiss cam, she was literally booed in the arena.
Well, good, Sally, because, we elect these people. We elect them because they say they're going to do one thing, but, for instance, where's your state capital? Is it Norman?
No. Oh, please don't.
Sorry about that.
That's where OU is, and that's a great football city.
Okay.
But no, Oklahoma City is the capital.
Oklahoma City. Well, I guess, is there a river or something there, or railroad tracks? Because, just like in Washington or Trenton or Sacramento or Carson City, it seems like when we elect these people and they cross some kind of a boundary, all right, they forget who sent them there and they forget why they were sent there. And it's so frustrating to me.
I know. I don't really know what's going on. I know another oddity is we had a bill in session this last week. We're in a budget deficit, and so our governor proposed a $1.50 tax increase on cigarettes, and she was in the chamber while the vote was going on, going around lobbying Democrats to vote. Here you have a conservative, as she says herself. She called herself a conservative governor, going around on the House floor talking to Democrats to try to get them to vote for the tax increase.
So, Sally, Representative Kern, what do you think are the chances of the veto override? Do you have the votes there?
I think we have the votes. I do know that our chambers in Oklahoma City and Tulsa don't necessarily want the bill, and they have sent some letters to our leadership, about not hearing this bill, as well as not hearing a bathroom bill we have. And so I hope that leadership will stay strong and bring it up. This is our last week of session.
Right.
And we are working on getting a budget. And some are afraid that if we don't get this budget, or they're wanting to get the budget as quickly as they can, so we don't have time to do an override.
Well, also, Sally, I'm looking at an article here, and I'll read from this article. Senator Dahm, D-A-H-M, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Senator Dahm noted the possible apprehensions of some who initially voted in favor of the bill. Quoting the senator, sometimes people, even though they vote for a bill, are hesitant to override the governor's veto because of their concerns about the governor being petty, vindictive, and vetoing some of their legislation.
True. I'm sorry. I'm starting to have a coughing fit here for a minute.
Sorry about that.
I'm afraid that's true.
Representative Kern, and when you're talking about this being your last week in session, unfortunately, it's the last week for Sally Kern to be in the state legislature of Oklahoma. You have been a great fighter for conservative values for the state. And I personally want to thank you for the work that you've done in Oklahoma. Apparently in Oklahoma there is term limits, and you have met them, and we just want to thank you so much for the service to Oklahoma. Want to thank you for coming on to Conservative Commando's radio show, and hopefully we'll continue to have you on, Sally.
Well, thank you. I would appreciate that. I thank you for the kind words. I appreciate the voters having set me back. And, for me, it's all about principle, Rick.
I know that.
If you believe in your principles, and there are also some principles for good government, and you stick by your principles, you vote for bills that enforce and promote good government. You don't put your finger up in the air and see how the wind's blowing or what the lobbyists want. You stand for what's right, and, my people have liked that, and they've sent me back. And, if they didn't like it, then just vote me out of office. I was never afraid to lose an election, because if I wasn't representing the people in my district, I didn't need to be there. But that's one of the... I was asked the other day, what advice would you give to new people coming in? And my advice would be, know what you believe, have some principles that will not change regardless, and understand what the timeless principles of good government are, and go in and stick by your principles. And in my opinion, that's the way to be a good legislator. And, if you don't, what's that old saying? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. And I personally believe that that's why our nation is in the shape it's in. It's because we've gotten away from those timeless principles of good government. We've gotten away from what our founding fathers called virtue and morality. And until we return to those things, we're going to continue to have problems in this nation.
Representative Sally Kern, I want to thank you so much for joining us. What would you? We only got 30 seconds. Sally, people write the governor? Are you encouraging people to write the governor?
Yes, they write the governor. They call the governor's office. They email. It's just a crying shame that a pro-life conservative governor, as she calls herself, veto some excellent legislation.
State Representative Sally Kern from Oklahoma, we want to thank you for being on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Sally, I hope we haven't heard the last from you. I hope you stay in the fight, my friend.
Well, thank you. I'll be happy to discuss any issue you want. You contact me about if I know something about it, Rick.
All right, thank you. And your book that you had out a couple of years ago, I still love the title, The Stoning of Sally Kern. Story in itself. Sally, take care. God bless.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Sharon Angle, I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio.